In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the beneficent. May the prayers and peace and blessings be upon Muhammad, the seal of all prophets. Dear sisters and brothers, in this episode, inshallah, we're going to contemplate on the verse in the surah of Yusuf that says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. There was in their narration a wisdom for great thinkers. Dear sisters and brothers, provided we want to understand clearly this verse, of course, we have to link it with its context. Particularly in this surah, when we read it, we notice a perfect example of narration in terms of style, in terms of plots, events, and so on. The Prophet Yusuf, may Allah be pleased upon him, was such a beautiful and handsome man in terms of color, in terms of shape, to the extent that they considered him an angel. And yet, is this what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, particularly in this verse, when he says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ? Of course, no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the entire beauty, the beauty of the heart. And we know that Yusuf, may Allah be pleased upon him, was distinguished by good qualities. He was such a man whose heart was full of faith and sincerity towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a man who contemplates and ponders over the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. And the Prophet Yusuf, may Allah be pleased upon him, instead of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he preferred to be sent to prison. He made a sacrifice for the sake of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is exactly the ibrah, the wisdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, particularly in this verse. Dear sisters and brothers, we shall not forget that this verse, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. This verse invites us to go back to the biographies of the previous messengers and prophets and extract from them some moral lessons. Of course, in every single event, we find a moral lesson, a life lesson. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Great thinkers. Likewise, when we read the biography of the Prophet Ayub, may Allah be pleased upon him, he was a perfect example of someone who is patient. You know, we understand the real sense of patience and sacrifice. And of course, for the sake of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dear sisters and brothers, we're asking Allah to guide us to the truth, to the straight path, and we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enlighten our heart by the knowledge we have in this great religion, Islam. Indeed, it's a religion of knowledge. It's a religion that provides brightness, that turns people from darkness into brightness. Until now, peace be with you. Stop button.